Hey everyone, welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I am Bueller. We are here again for another creator interview. We have a two-time guest, David Avallone. How are you today?
I am good. How are you doing, Travis?
I am doing really well. I'm sitting out in the nice, beautiful Arizona desert right now, trying to work on that tan. And you know what? I was in Orlando last week, and now I'm in Arizona. So I'm, like I said earlier, I'm following the sunshine.
Yeah,
But we're here to talk about your new book that's coming out
yeah.
actually next week. It's coming out on Wednesday, the 21st. We got Elvira meets H.P. Lovecraft. And I'm pretty excited because last time you were on the channel, we were also talking about an Elvira book, and Cassandra was with us on
Oh, that's
there.
right. That's right.
And thousands of people watched. And I think you guys had a crowdfunder going on, a Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
That
And
sounds right.
I think we were able to help and add some more dollar signs to that project. So I was very honored to have both of you guys on the channel. But now we're talking about another Elvira book, and I'm going to kind of turn it over to you and kind of let you
Sure.
describe what's going on, because Elvira eventually she just meets everybody. That's kind of the pattern. She meets
Yeah,
H.P. Lovecraft. She meets Vincent Price. She meets all these people. She needs to
yeah.
meet me someday. It would be great.
Sure.
That'd be another book. But go ahead and give us the rundown of this
Well,
book.
this is I don't even know how many Elvira series I've done. I always say if this was the 70s or the 80s, this would be the next issue would be Elvira Mistress of the Dark number 34.
Yeah.
But nowadays every arc gets its own number one, and I totally understand the economics of that. I can read a sales chart just like anybody else, and a
Sure.
number one is going to do better than a number six,
Yeah.
so it makes a lot of sense to keep doing them. And starting from the very beginning, when I pitched the very first idea to Cassandra and her folks and to Dynamite, uh, Cassandra's main role culturally is she is the horror hostess,
Yes.
and so she's all about watch this movie and I'll tell you about it. So I thought it would be fun. In the first series, she time traveled and she met the real Mary Shelley and Edgar Allan Poe and Bram Stoker. And I had originally planned to do H.P. Lovecraft in the fourth issue. And I honestly decided that a single issue was not enough time to deal with Lovecraft, not so much the artist, but uh, he's such a difficult dude in real life, with so many failings and foibles. I was like, I can't do all that in 20 pages and have a good story. So I switched it to Elvira showing up on the set of a Bride of Frankenstein style movie, which gave me a chance to do a lot of Hollywood in the 1930s jokes, which was a lot of fun. So when this came around, after the last series, Elvira in Monsterland, last two series had Elvira jumping around. We discovered that all movies create their own little dimension, their own little universe where the story happens over and over and over again. And
Sure.
Elvira kept interrupting those in Horrorland. And then in Monsterland, Vlad the Impaler was literally kidnapping monsters out of movies to make an army to conquer the world with. Um, and I figured we'd done enough of that, 10 issues in a row. And I wanted to step back from that premise. As much fun as it is, it allowed me to do basically Mad Magazine movie parodies of every great horror movie, just with Elvira as the character doing the running commentary. So, excuse me, I didn't want to do another one of those right away. And I realized, okay, 5 issues is enough time to deal with everything about H.P. Lovecraft that is worth talking about. So in this series, it's sort of a flip side. In the Vincent Price series, the ghost of Vincent Price came to her and said, I need your help locating this lost movie that
Yeah.
someone might use to destroy the world or save the world. And this is the flip side. It's the ghost of H.P. Lovecraft coming to her to find the last true copy of the Necronomicon before it falls into the wrong hands, the wrong tentacles, I should say.
Sure.
And so they go on a little quest that takes them all over, and even sort of outside of our normal reality. We run into some great old ones. Our primary great old one, I feel like, as much as Cthulhu is popular, and we will be seeing Cthulhu.
Nice.
Nyarlathotep is the one who can turn into a human being. And I've always loved the name. I've loved his surname, the Crawling Chaos. And he has a lot of one of his alternate personalities on Earth is a creature named Ambrose Dexter. So Ambrose Dexter shows up in issue 1 and is clearly Nyarlathotep, and so we're up against him. But we go to a bookstore in Hollywood, to Miskatonic University, to the house of one of Lovecraft's contemporaries, who is strangely still alive, and we go all over. It is the usual. It's a quest. It's a romp, and I resurrect some henchmen from the first run of Elvira comics that we haven't seen in a while, who, when we met them last time, they were part of a witch cult in Southern California. And when I needed henchmen for Nyarlathotep, I went, well, those 3 idiots would hitch their wagon to whatever comes along, so let's bring those guys back. And they were fun characters. And the artist is Kuber Ball, who did the last Elvira in Monsterland and Elvira in Harland, and is just a tremendous. That's one of his covers behind me from the last issue of Monsterland. Really amazing artist, can handle anything that I throw at him. One of the funniest things he said to me when we started is, there are like 3 photographs of H.P. Lovecraft, and I got to draw him making all sorts of emotions and faces that he was absolutely never photographed making. He's always got the same, sort of deadpan look to the camera. I found one picture of him smiling. I was like, well, here, I got one picture of him smiling. The rest you're going to have to extrapolate. But Kuber is just an amazing artist. He's what he creates and how he reflects what people, the way he's able to capture what people love about characters and make you really feel like you're watching a movie with all of those characters in it. And it's amazing to work with.
And like I said earlier, you've done a lot of projects with Elvira. Does she kind of just like, you know what, David, you got this? I mean,
yes and no. She reads every script.
Okay.
And 99.999% of the time, what I get back is either great, love it, or a maximum of 2 to 3 jokes.
Yeah.
And she always says, you don't have to use this. This is just a suggestion. And I always say, they're Elvira jokes written by Cassandra Peterson. I think I'm going to use them. But she's very sensitive to the needs of the story. Also, there was one issue where it was a very climactic moment that actually had some drama to it. And there was an easy, low-hanging fruit, cheap joke suggested by the situation. And I didn't use it. And she wrote back and said, hey, how about this? But I understand if that undercuts the moment here. So she absolutely gets when, most of the time, yeah, we're going to go for the cheapest joke humanly possible. The Vincent Price series had the 4th issue, they go to Egypt. And it had a lot to do with ancient Egypt and the ancient Egyptian gods. Or one of the villains is Amun-Ra. And I titled the issue Ankhs, the symbol Ankh, Ankhs for the memories. And she wrote back and said, David, Ankhs for the memories. Come on, I shouldn't have to explain that to you. And I was like, well, I was trying to not go to the really obvious joke, but absolutely, Ankhs for the memories. Here we go. Once she did throw out an entire script, only once. And I had to sort of read the tea leaves and figure out what was wrong with it. And it took me it was a little devastating, and it took me a couple of weeks, but I reread over my script and I saw where I had done something that was off brand for Elvira. I spent a lot of time making fun of a movie and referencing a movie that's not really a horror movie. It's a movie by a famous horror movie director. It's basically the Cronenberg issue of issue 5 of Horrorland had a lot of naked lunch in it. And that's just not a horror movie. And for all I know, she doesn't like it. It's one of my favorite movies, but she may not like it. Now, that said, there's one character from Naked Lunch who I then have used in 10 more issues, and she had no problem with that because he was just the character. But the scenes being based on Naked Lunch, she really, like I said, and I rewrote it focusing on, I basically took out all but one, I took out everything but Peter Weller and replaced it all with scenes from The Fly, Scanners, and Videodrome, which are horror movies. And she approved that with no changes, like with just a simple, like, yeah, this is great now, thanks. And I was like,
nice.
Okay, I guess I guessed right that she's not crazy about Naked Lunch, which again is fine. But yeah, the process is very smooth. I think she's a little harder on the artists than she is on me. But I get it. If I was being drawn over and over and over in comic books and on comic book covers and my face was appearing on newsstands, I would want it to look like me, or I would want it to look like me, even better looking than I am. So I totally get why she wants her beauty adequately conveyed on the page at all times. I have no problem with that.
There you go. I want to just share a quick story about Cassandra real fast, because this is from my neck of the woods. I believe me and her both are from the same area. But recently there was a fan expo in Portland, Oregon, and just about a month ago, and there was a huge ice storm that weekend, and Cassandra was a featured guest at this con. Majority of the guests canceled, but Cassandra did not, and she showed up there and was there for her fans and signed all her autographs, did her whole thing. I saw her Instagram and stuff, and like I said, I'm from Portland. And so just seeing her go there, because I know how Portland shuts down whenever there's snow and ice. It's just like nothing going on whatsoever, but she made it. And I want to say thank you to her. So if you're a fan of her, go pick up this book by David and Cassandra and Elvira and all that goodness. And because she supports her fans. And I think that's really important. And to see that and to see what that she made that trek to the convention center, because I know how it is there. I've been there many times.
Well, that's the other thing. Remember that she lives in Oregon now. So whereas other guests might have been staying at a hotel across the street, she was driving in from her home, in that weather, and still got there. So good for her.
Yeah. And I didn't know that at the time when we did that first interview a couple years ago. I didn't know that she was in Oregon. I live right down the street from basically where she's at.
I don't think she had moved up there yet. She was still in Los Angeles at that time. I know it's within like the last 2 years. That she moved.
A friend of mine ran into her at a coffee shop or something like that, and said, "Oh, I ran into Cassandra." I said, "What was she doing in Oregon?" And stuff. She was, I think she lives there. And then I found out she did.
She just relocated.
Very nice. Well, David, I want to say thank you for coming on.
My pleasure, sir.
I appreciate your time. Are you have any events coming up as far as cons this year or anything?
I have. I'll be at WonderCon, though I'm not tabling. I'm at a handful of panels that I'll be doing. Okay. And the 24th of February, I'm doing a signing at a comic book shop in Ventura called Arsenal Comics. Nice. About an hour-ish north of LA. And there will probably be some signing activity relating to Drawing Blood, though I haven't locked any of that down. And in the fall, it's a ways off, but the other cons, I mean, I'm always at San Diego. I am fairly certain we'll be at the Image booth in San Diego making a big noise. And one of the more turtle-centric conventions is the one in New Hampshire, Granite State. And Granite State is having me as a guest, and Kevin will be there, and Ben Bishop, like everyone from the Turtles crew, will be there. And then a week or two before that, I'm doing a horror convention in Long Island, New York. So I'm getting around. I'm trying to book up the rest of the year. It's just been, I've been kind of waiting for people to have their minds blown by both the Lovecraft series and by drawing blood before I start
There you go.
asking cons, hey,
Yeah.
I'm famous enough, bring me in. So
Well, there
it's
you go.
always a ridiculous experience to have to do that, but that's
Yeah.
comic books, and
Yeah.
50% of the time they don't answer the emails, and the other 50% of the time they ask you what airport you fly out of. So
There you go.
you do what you can.
Well, David, thank you very much for joining us. And I
Thank you,
want to
sir.
let everyone know who's watching, please go pick up the newest Elvira comic from Dynamite. And it'll be on the comic shelves on Wednesday. Don't forget to live your best life. Thank you, everyone.